Oliver Platt joining us from beautiful Victoria, BC, who's going to be sticking around for the two final friendlies of the year for the Canadian women's national team. That also means the two final games for Christine Sinclair in her national career. Gentlemen, we know she will be retiring from representing the Maple Leaf, but will continue a year in the pros with the Portland Thorns. So let's talk about this game against Australia on Friday. The first two games will be against Australia. We know their superstar, Sam Kerr, will not be participating. She's dealing with an injury. But either way, these are important matches because it gives us a preview, guys, of what we can expect from this Canadian team as they are going to the Paris Olympics. They are looking to defend their gold medal. And we know that Bev Priestman, as much as we're, saying goodbye to Christine Sinclair, has to get her starting 11 right, has to see new players, maybe, keep the veterans fit, all that fun stuff that comes with being a manager and all the things that you have to think about. But, again, Christine Sinclair, this is still the big story, Ollie. And I wonder, Bev Priestman, do you start her in the lineup? I know we've talked about this before in the other two games that were in Montreal and Halifax, but we're down to the final two and they're in BC, Sinclair's home province. Do you start her in these games?
I certainly think she will start on Tuesday. I think I'd be stunned if that's not the case. And I think, that would obviously be the appropriate thing to do for a legend of this magnitude playing their last game for their country. Everyone at BC Place is going to want to see Christine Sinclair start. Everyone is going to want to see or have the opportunity to give her a standing ovation off the field at some point in the second half. And I think that will be the right thing to do, obviously. Friday's game is probably a more open question. If I had to guess, I think she will probably come off the bench in that game and start, like I said, at BC Place or Christine Sinclair Place as it will be on the night.
Yes,
but I wouldn't be stunned if she starts both games as well. But like I said, what I'm expecting and what I think would probably be the right balance between, okay, these are still important games against a quality opponent going into the Gold Cup, going into the Olympics next year. Is Sinclair maybe comes off the bench in this one. The crowd still gets their opportunity to see her, to say thank you, to applaud her. And then we see the final start of Christine Sinclair on Tuesday in Vancouver would be my expectation, but we'll see what Bev Priestman comes up with.
I'll come back to you, Ollie, because I do want to know what you expect the starting 11 to be. But Jordo, I'll come to you first. And do you think Sinclair will be in that starting 11 on Friday, or are you of the same mind of Ollie when it comes to Tuesday's game?
So Ollie and I were cut from the same cloth. Twins, if you haven't noticed, in every way, shape, or form. Stature, color, totally. All of it. Yeah. That is my guy. I have to agree with his sentiment. I think Friday, tomorrow, we can see Christine Sinclair probably playing a half, maybe 30 minutes. I see the 60-minute mark, her coming on and getting that standing ovation. But let's just talk about BC Place being named Christine Sinclair.
Oh, okay.
That means she's playing. From the get-go, the referee can't even give her a red card. She could do no wrong on the day. She's going to enjoy that. Tuesday is her day to start and soak in everything. But I think Bev Priestman has to, in many ways, still think about the team. And if you're looking at the strongest 11 or the team that you want to see compete, there's still so many question marks with this women's national team. So you can't really, I'm going to use the word waste opportunities to put your best team out there. And for me, Friday, that is without Christine Sinclair in the starting lineup. But Tuesday, again, it would be very awkward having Christine Sinclair place without Christine Sinclair and her coming on the pitch. So we'll see how that pans out.
That's a valid point. That's a valid point. For those of you who haven't heard, BC Place, they've decided to rename themselves Christine Sinclair Place for one day for that game. And it would be, I do think, a little weird. You're right. The person who the stadium is named after on that day is not the one running out on the pitch at kickoff. But let me ask you this then, Ollie. It seems you guys are both in alignment when it comes to her not starting on Friday. So what do you expect the starting 11 to be?
Firstly, I just want to say Jordan made an interesting point, and Christine Sinclair won't do this because she's Christine Sinclair. But if it was me, I'd be like tactical fouling everywhere. Like I'm untouchable in this game. It's my last game ever. I can't get in any trouble. I can get away with whatever I want.
Brilliant.
Just an idea.
Yeah.
We'll see. Starting 11, I think it'll be very similar to what we've seen in the past two windows. I expect they'll continue with that 3-4-3 or whatever however you want to describe it. Obviously, the shape is fluid. So you've got Jade Rose, Buchanan, Gilles, who seem to have established themselves as that first choice back three. Sydney Collins has come in and done well on the left-hand side, which has been a problem position. So I would expect she'll continue there. Quinn, Fleming, particularly with Grosso out, that seems obvious. Ashley Lawrence, obviously, on the right-hand side. And then I think Leon, Lacasse, and Prince have done well as the front three. So, and Kaylin Sheridan in goal, obviously. So there's different players that you can plug in that are certainly interesting, certainly going to get a chance to impress in this window. But I think it's starting to look, as much as it wasn't perfect against Brazil, and there's still some growing pains, I think we've all seen some potential in the way they've played over the past two windows to continue trying to build that system and build this kind of lineup.
Yeah, Sydney Collins was that wild card, right? That people didn't even really know about. I think people probably have the scouting report on her now, but it's definitely given Bev Priestman options. And that's a nice piece to have in the starting 11 or even come off the bench if it's not set. Where are you with your starting 11, Jordo?
Yeah, similar to Ollie, I think Cindy Collins, that was the ace card that Bev needed, because that left side playing Ashley Lawrence there, although she's a great player and is competent in that position, she's just such a threat down the right side. So having a left-footed player on the left side is coveted by any manager, someone who can bomb forward, and that's what Cindy Collins provides. But I think also there are other names that maybe you could bring up. Basically, the lineup Ollie said was the lineup that Bev went with in the first leg against Brazil in Montreal. Pretty much so. And I'm looking at maybe Rose in the back, or if you have a Zadorsky, but I think Rose is probably a bit more athletic. And if she can just really take care of the ball, I think that's her starting spot. But maybe players to watch, I think she wouldn't start, but Araujo should be coming in, Simi Araujo. And then maybe Haidema up top. Like, I think, I know you have Pace and Michelle and Michelle Prince, and then obviously Leon and the cast, they do well as well. But Haidema kind of provides something different. Size, great in the air, can skip past one or two players. I wouldn't be surprised if she's in the starting lineup. We know we'll see minutes from her, whether she's 12th man or 13th man coming off onto the pitch, but it could provide something different starting her. So maybe that's the only wild card I could see from Ollie's lineup. But outside of that, we're looking at the 11 that we believe Bev Priestman will probably go with.
I don't know, and I have a feeling we'll discuss further on the broadcast Friday if this should be considered a revenge match. As we know, the last time Canada faced Australia, it was in that final group stage game at the World Cup. Canada just needing a draw, and they ended up getting dismantled by the Australians. 4-0 was the final. Heartbreaking, devastating, and quite frankly, that was shocking. So now that they're playing Australia in these two games in this window, like, what would you say, Ollie, is the best case scenario here? Do you think there's, I mean, yeah, they're friendlies, but is revenge on their mind?
I don't think it's revenge so much as you're trying to kind of reestablish the belief and the confidence that you can go up against these teams and play more football than they did at the World Cup, right? Like, I think Canada for a couple of years really leaned into that defensive identity. We saw glimpses of a talented team going forwards at times, but just not with enough consistency. And at the tournaments, it was really their defensive solidity that gave them success. Obviously, at the World Cup, that gets absolutely dismantled by Australia, and I think that knocks back your belief in yourself as a team, your confidence that you're still right up there among the top teams in the world. And I think it's about now kind of trying to slowly reestablish that, while also developing the style of play into, a more progressive style of play that can actually take you deeper in tournaments like the World Cup. And so Brazil wasn't perfect. I think we saw, as much kind of growing pains as we did good football over the course of those two games. And I think that's to be expected when you change the system like this and try and do something different. But you've got to stick with it, I think, over multiple windows. And this is another opportunity to kind of test yourself against a quality opponent. So you're looking for a team that, again, just plays like it has the belief and the confidence that they're at this level. They can do this. They can take games to teams like Australia. Whatever the results are, I think you're looking for that kind of positivity in the performances to take into next year.
Yeah. How you feeling, Jordan? As a player, just a little
that's what
bit.
You did, eh? Let's
just a little bit.
You know how to ruffle my feathers, Trish. You know how to do it.
Come on.
Look, I remember a few years ago in preseason, maybe like 2016, cold Danish winter, February, getting ready for the real season. We lost 5-0 to a team in our league. spanked us. I couldn't get close to any of their attacking mids. Even though I'm Canadian, I was freezing. Either way, I remember. Then we played them second game in the season, maybe 6 weeks later. Bloodbath. Because that team spanked you. I'm expecting a bit of that from the Canadian women's team. I'm expecting 4-0. A lot of players came out and apologized after. At the end of the day, for me, I don't need an apology if you go out and do your best. Sometimes you play great, sometimes you don't. But if you're locked in, that's enough for me. I don't really need an apology. However, the players that are running by you, the players that you're going up against are similar faces that you just saw a few months ago when it was a bad feeling, that punch in the gut that the players had. So there should be some revenge. There should be like, you know what? This team embarrassed us a bit at the national stage. We don't want that again. And then also, I think you have the added bonus of someone who's revered and someone who's loved with the national team. Christine Sinclair's last games, also Sophie Smith as well. So it's like you have these players that you also want to do well for, right? Send them off right. I know for me, any player that was retiring, it was their last game, you want to win it because you don't want them going out on a tie or a loss. You want to send them off, be like, we love you, but here's a 3-1 that we also gave to another team. And I think it's even more so with Australia, just because that's that team I think Canada has had a few success with, but lately, or the last match, is a 4-0 loss. So I think there should be some revenge on the players' minds going into this game.
There's a lot to motivate them, I think, is what we're definitely agreeing on. But other than Christine Sinclair, Ollie, which player are you most interested in watching?
Ashley Lawrence. I'll go with one of the big names because I think she's been exceptional. Pushed forwards into a more advanced role. Looks like consistently like Canada's most dangerous player. So let's see if she can continue that again against a good opponent. It's clear that as much as we talk about tactics and style of play and so on and so forth, Canada also needs individuals to step up and attack and to prove to be real difference makers. And I think the way they've changed the system has pushed Ashley Lawrence in a position where she has a little less defensive responsibility, more license to get forwards. And she's able to do that. She has every opportunity to do that. And I think so far she's undoubtedly seized that, being the best player for me over the past few games since the World Cup. And so we need players like this. And you could probably name one or two more. Jessie Fleming, Chloe Lacasse now playing for Arsenal as well. We need players like this to step up and show their top quality against top opponents because you can do all the tactical things in the world that you want. But if you don't have individual difference makers, individual players who are willing to take responsibility, expect themselves to create goals, to score goals, to be difference makers in the final thirds, you're always going to struggle in attack without those types of players. So Ashley Lawrence has started to look like one again in that more advanced role. And I'm hoping that continues in these two games.
What about you, Jordan?
2 words. Simi Awujo. This has to be her time. The 20-year-old has talent and just needs to find her feet. But look, when you're looking at Canada's midfield, and I watch this closely because I love midfielders, right? I think they're the engine. I think we could all agree they're the ones to get the game going. And for me, I was a converted midfielder / defender. So I'm always interested in people that do things well. Simi Awujo, what she does well is she can go past the player. She can provide passes going forward. I think when you're watching Quinn play, they connect, they sit. But when you're looking at Fleming, she's the creator, but you need someone in between. You need someone that is like an engine, box to box, can cause some havoc, win tackles. That is a spot for Simi Awujo. But outside of that being her spot, this is her time. Grosso's not in the camp. You know Schmidt's going to play a little bit, but she's retired. Like, this is a time where if I'm a 20-year-old Simi Awujo, I'm thinking, this is my opportunity. This is my window. At training, I should be the best version of myself. And when I get 20 minutes in the match, force Bev Priestman's hand to play her. Because if you go into a Gold Cup or these tournaments and you don't have the trust of your manager, it's too late. These windows are the time to go and take that role. And I hope that she does that because I think this player has a bright future. And she in 2022, she was Canada's Soccer's Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year. Like, she has it in her. She just needs to go out and show that. And I hope she can do that this window.
Let's get back to some key players. And, a few of them you've already mentioned there. And I know we've talked about it before on the show. But with Chelsea, they have 3 Canadians, Jessie Fleming, Kadisha Buchanan, Ashley Lawrence. And guys, they're struggling to not just start, but just to get minutes in general. And in fact, all 3 came off the bench on the weekend. Are you concerned, Ollie?
Yes and no. I'm more concerned about Kadisha Buchanan, I think, than the other two. I would have expected her to be playing a little bit more than she has done. Millie Bright's been out a little bit as well, so they haven't been at full strength at centre back, and for Khadisha not to be playing more than she has and ahead of some of the players that are playing in front of her right now, and also with centre backs, you just don't think that they necessarily need the rotation as much as maybe other players do. You want to see them playing week in, week out, midweek games, weekend games. That to me is a little bit of a concern that maybe something isn't quite right there, or there isn't quite the trust that you'd expect that they would have in a world-class centre back. So that one to me is something to watch as the season progresses. It is still very early. With Fleming and Lawrence, I'd love to see them playing every game. I just don't know for anyone except maybe a couple of players, the Sam Kerrs of the world. Is that a realistic expectation at Chelsea? Like, this is an all-star team. There is so much talent for them to compete with. I think it's probably difficult to pick a starting 11 every week and leave 3 or 4 players out. When you look at the kind of talent that is on Chelsea's squad. So I can kind of understand the rotation between Champions League and the WSL that happens with those two a little bit more. And I think they still have played decent minutes and have had decent roles in the team. Lawrence in particular, I think, can be a really important player for them. Fleming as well is coming into her own. So it's more Buchanan than the other two. But I do think that part of this is just kind of the reality of being a Chelsea player. Unless you're absolutely world-class, like a Ballon d'Or contender, you're probably going to have to, deal with a little bit of rotation given the caliber of your teammates.
Andy, I think it's a bit of a concern. The reason why I say that is because the names that we're picking out, Jessie Fleming, Khadisha Buchanan, Ashley Lawrence, are now all, for me, the leaders of this Canadian women's national team. They're the big dogs. Coming into camp, they should be their best self. They should be playing football all the time at the best level and not just training. When you get into a training role and you're not playing big minutes, I think Ollie has a great point about Buchanan because defenders are treated a bit differently, right? You don't really sub defenders the same way. Midfielders, yeah, you might start some games, but then other times you just have to play a role and come on for 30 and rest. But as a defender, you need those reps, right? You need to be acclimated and getting so familiar with a player running at you, whatever it might be, playing the ball at the back, duels, all of that. But those 3 players, when it's Gold Cup time for Canada, they've been tested against the best competition. I don't know if that could be happening at training. So it is a bit concerning. I hope they could break into the team a little bit, but Ollie is right. That Chelsea team is stacked, beyond stacked. So hopefully at a point they can find a little inch and really break into the team, because we want to see them playing as much as they can, because that will translate into playing for Canada as well.
Yeah, for sure. Let's play bookmaker here a little bit. What are the odds, Ollie, that Christine Sinclair gets at least 1 goal over the next 2 games? She's players in number 9, 0 defensive responsibility. Just put her right up there. What are the odds here?
I don't know what the odds are, but if you're one of her teammates, you're just trying to get her the ball at every opportunity, right? Particularly in Vancouver when she's starting. I think it would be an incredible moment, again, particularly at Christine Sinclair Place to get that last goal would be a really, really special moment. So I'm hoping for it. I think everyone is going to be trying to provide her with chances like that, nice square balls in the 6-yard box just to finish off. So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope so, because I think it would be pretty special to witness in front of a big crowd in Vancouver.
But wait, are you giving me like at least over 50% is the chance? Like, can we talk percentages maybe? Like, where do we?
I'll give you 50-50. Let's keep people on their toes, on tenterhooks.
Well, that's
right on brand. That's Ollie who's right on brand. He's like, see that line? I'm just gonna ride that line. See that fence?
They're a good team. They're a good team.
Sit on that fence.
You gotta respect Australia, but like I said, I'm sure everyone will be doing everything in their power to get her at least a chance, and she usually finishes them. Okay,
Jordan, are you gonna give me like a good percentage?
Yeah, I will. I'm going to give you 61%. There's going to be a 61% chance. Number. Look, what I will say is that there's probably going to be 120 minutes of football that she plays realistically, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but she's going to play maybe 30 minutes in the first leg and then play the full game. There's some chances there for Christine Sinclair. Also, this is a woman of moments, right? Like when all the chips are against her, you need some glimmer of brilliance. She rises up for the Maple Leafs. She rises up for Canada. So I could see there being an opportunity. Look, And what I will say is, if she doesn't score, that's haunting her. Like Christine Sinclair is a competitor. Like she misses a chance that she should score. She's thinking about this in 10 years' time as well. So I'm hoping that she can do it. But put me at like 61%.
Okay, I like it.
It's actually been a while since she scored for Canada. I don't think she scored for a country since the CONCACAF qualifiers summer of 2022. So she's due.
She is due. 61% is what we got over here. Typical 50% by Ollie.